Oh, that was lovely cheese.
I've sponsored your appointment because I feel you are the most able statesman in all Fredonia.
Well, that covers a lot of ground. Say, you cover a lot of ground yourself. You better beat it. I hear they're going to tear you down and put up an office building where you're standing. You can leave in a taxi. If you can't get a taxi, you can leave in a hut. If that's too soon, you can leave in a minute and a half. You know, you haven't stopped talking since I came here. You must have been vaccinated with a phonograph needle.
It's the wrong trousers. The wrong trousers.
Hey everyone, welcome back to No Admissions, the double feature podcast where we pair the unpairable and link the unlinkable. Two unlikely movies are picked at complete random, and at the end of every back-to-back discussion, no matter how hard it may be, my guest and myself will find the connecting thematic tissue, whether it be from genre, aesthetic, motive, or style. As always, my name is Jack Siddle, and last time you guys would have heard from me, it's when I would have guested my good buddy Chance Freytag on, when we sort of paired the Muppet movie, the sort of wholesome fable of the great American dream of going off to Hollywood and starting a movie making career, but done complete in the Muppet style of sort of puppets and wonderful animatronics and practical effects, and we paired it with the James Cameron super toxic masculinity odyssey that is True Lies of sort of complete overwhelming drowned in divorce dude energy. But with a new episode comes a new double feature. This guy, I mean, he serves no introduction. I've known this lovely gentleman for many years now, and he's become a close friend of mine, and we've been meaning to do this for a long time. You can find him over on TikTok and YouTube and Letterboxd, of course, and Twitter. It's talking about movies and music and making some fantastic lists and very, very exciting content to come. Here's my good buddy AJ Ford. AJ, how we going, man?
Hello, I'm the nostalgia critic. Just kidding. I'm angry. Just kidding. I'm Adam Johnson from Your Movie Sucks. I don't know. Hi, everyone. My name is AJ, and we are recording a podcast from two completely different continents.
Yes.
I have no idea what time it is in Australia, but here in the falling apart United States, it is 8:30 at night.
Oh my God. Here's a little, yeah, it's currently almost 11:30 a.m. So there's a little bit of a time zone fact for everyone listening. And it's always a pain in the ass trying to organize these, because obviously most of my guests, while I obviously it means the world that we can always find the time to do something like this. I always just appreciate my guests, because I can imagine it must be a pain in the ass on trying to sort these out, especially from being two different countries.
And I must say, I must form an apology to you, Jack, because you and me planning out this podcast was a lot tougher than it needed to be, because we originally started with Fritz the Cat,
Yeah.
and I think Babe, and
It was something.
and then we were like locked on that.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like, you know what? No. Well, let's not do cat, like, animated
I'm British now.
I don't know how to do an Australian
Why are you doing a
accent.
British accent?
What's I might shrimp on the bobby?
It was like a back and forth, and I could sense you were growing a headache, and I grew worried you're just gonna pull the pin. You were just gonna go, you know what? Fuck you, man. I'm not like coming on your show. You're just being too difficult with it. But I feel like we locked out. Well, you chose the two
Compromising, yeah.
movies. You chose the two.
And then after that, it was like you wanted Fritz the Cat.
Oh, I
Like,
was
you-
happy with Fritz the Cat because it's been on my watch list forever, and I wanted an excuse to finally get around to seeing it. Yeah,
We'll get to that eventually.
we'll
If
do
I-
Fritz the Cat one day.
Yeah.
When we eventually do Fritz the Cat, I'll make sure we'll get you back, and we'll talk some Ralph Bakshi sort of crude cat humor.
And then I remember it's like Fritz the Cat in the Simpsons movie, and then you're like,
I was like, that's not gonna
"Yeah,
work.
they have an animated cat in there.
I was like, no, we can't do that, because it's like, obviously the whole thing of the show is like pairing two movies that are like separate enough from each other to make it,
Exactly.
rather give us a challenge at the end of the episode to compare. I was like, too hard. They're two animated movies. We can't do that. But no, we've We did something good here.
Yeah, and then it was Fritz the Cat in Paris, Texas, which I was for, but then like as time went on, I was like, I don't know if I'm smart enough to fully dissect Paris, Texas just yet because I'd only seen it once,
Mm.
and when we finalized on this, it was
Mm.
actually when I was walking out of the new Wallace and Gromit short, not short, sorry, Wallace and Gromit movie in theaters, Vengeance Most Foul,
Mm.
which is not the movie that we're going to be talking about. Uh,
No. Well, that
Jack,
actually
what
circle
are we
that.
talking
You've
about?
made a good segue there. So I will ask you, AJ, what two movies are we talking about today?
So I recommended Duck Soup from 1933, which is a Marx Brothers movie, and we'll get into them in a second. And we are pairing it with The Wrong Trousers, the Wallace and Gromit short from 1993, I believe. And
Yes.
it is what I consider to be the greatest animated short film ever made. Maybe the
Yeah.
greatest short film ever made.
It's
I don't
it's
know.
it's up there. It's up there, and obviously we you and I just talked about this briefly pre-recording, but I think sort of we will contribute some of our thoughts and opinions on other sort of Wallace and Gromit movies, um, in the wrong trousers part of the discussion because like the I mean we'll get to that part when we talk about, but the beauty of it is like sort of they're just so short and sweet, and they don't like well most of them anyway don't overstay their welcome anyway. But no, we'll probably save that when we actually get to Wallace and Gromit. But no, perfect pairing. So you heard it here first. We're talking about Duck Soup from 1933 and pairing it with The Wrong Trousers from 1993. But AJ, I mean, should we just get straight into it? Should we talk some duck soup? Are you hungry for some duck soup?
I'm hungry for some um Australian flesh and soup. I don't know. I don't know. That
All right, we'll
kind
roll with it. We'll roll with it.
flesh and bone.
Yes. so, so
Oh, Your Excellency, I must speak to you.
I'll see you at the theater tonight. I'll hold your seat till you get there. After you get there, you're on your own.
Hello? Hello, yes? No, he's not in yet. All right, so goodbye. That was for you again.
I wonder whatever became of me. I should have been back here a long time ago.
Duck Soup is the 1933 American pre-code musical black comedy film. A lot of genres going on there, with a cast that stars obviously the Marx Brothers, which include Groucho, Harpo, Chico Zeppo, and Margaret Dumont, and is directed by one Leo McCarey. And obviously, this is like just an incredible piece. I think this is sort of when you especially when you look up this movie, it's definitely featuring a lot in sort of top 100, top 1,000 movies of all time, like top 100 movies you got to see before you die, everything like that. And it was a first time watch for me, and didn't really know too much, wasn't too familiar with the Marx Brothers style of comedy, even though obviously, naturally, I've heard of them just through people talking about them because they are sort of a famous group comedy act, and I was just completely blown away by this. I'm so happy, AJ, that you recommended this because this is an incredible movie.
No, I agree. Like my history with the. Do you want me to go into my history of the Marx Brothers?
Please, that's I think that's going to be the only appropriate way to start.
So I had gotten this book from Barnes and Noble, which is like a bookstore in America. I don't know if you have it down there, but I had gotten this book called The 100 Greatest Movies Ever, and I was like a teenager at the time, or I want to say tween, and I bought it and I was like, all right, I'll be the fucking judge of this. and and I started looking through it, and I had recognized like some faces before from probably like parody or
Right.
something. But one of the movies they mentioned was A Night at the Opera, which is another
Mm.
Marx movie,
Yep.
and Groucho's face looked so familiar to me,
Hmm.
and I found out why.
Hmm.
It was because he's the inspiration for like those goofy glasses
Right.
that
Okay.
where the
Yeah.
joke. And I was like, huh, I didn't know that this was like a team of comedy brothers. Like I kind of want to watch this now. I watched
Yeah.
Night of the Opera. It's hilarious, but and then I was like, I'm kind of why am I suddenly into this old style comedy? I'm not cool, but I guess I'll keep this a secret. And so eventually I watched Duck Soup in high school because I kind of watched the Marx Brothers movies um, periodically, and I got the Duck Soup, and it I like we were talking about this over text.
Mm.
There, we had to watch this movie so many times
Yeah.
because there are so many jokes that
Oh,
we just flat out miss because this movie is quite literally a joke per minute. Like someone on Letterboxd said it's like a comedy machine gun, and I
yeah.
totally agree with that. Like I think the only moments without a joke are probably the opening credits and the opening 2 minutes.
Oh,
Eh,
100%. It's not even like a joke like per minute. It's like a joke per second. It's like
yeah,
it's just gag, gag, gag. Like it just constantly like it doesn't breathe. It's just like spitting out a joke at every single sort of like physical second it's on the movie is on the screen. It's actually unbelievable.
and for whatever reason, every single joke is so fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Even like from 2025 time. This movie is nearly 100 years old,
Wow.
and fucking like almost every single joke just hits bullseyes. Even like the beginning scene where they're like introducing Groucho's character,
Right.
and he's supposed to have this grand entrance. And you know I'm going with this. They
Yeah.
they
It's the
have
best way
like
to
this like
introduce this
big
character.
yeah, they have this big musical number, and they end it, but Groucho isn't there.
Yeah.
His name is Rufus T. Firefly.
Right.
And and then he's not there. They wait a few seconds, and then they just start the song again. The
Yeah.
the verse of the song again,
Yeah.
and it's not there. And then they just do it again. And then he just comes in through like the back door and goes like, "Are you guys expecting anybody?"
Yeah. And he like just sort of
Oh, I
joins
love
the marching band that is for him.
yeah, exactly. And then like and then Groucho just starts doing the best riff
Yeah.
to this woman
Yeah.
like ever. And I like we said, like it's basically like joke per second because like I can't even like fully recite what he says to this
No.
woman.
Well, I think that's the thing too, where you said it perfectly just a few minutes ago, where you said it's like an impossible movie to take notes for. Because even though you and I are obviously dedicating a section to this podcast about talking to this movie, I don't even think you and I will even recite half the jokes in this entire movie. Because there is just that many, and you know, you and I probably, while watching it for this podcast, probably missed about 100 like sort of just quick jabs and that like the Groucho brothers get at each other or physical comedy gags. It is just completely packed. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I remember when he was basically being a diva like to this woman. One of the things I remember him saying like, so it was Moida. Like when he's talking
Yeah,
when
he's
he's
talking about
talking about
her husband passing away and she kissed him. He's like, "Oh, it's murder then." Yeah, that's right. I love
like
I.
I would die too or something like that.
His first line he gets to that lady cracked me out where he's like, "Pick a card, you can keep it. I've got 51 more."
Exactly.
It's like so many just like stupid jokes like that, but it's just like constantly, and it's like the guy doesn't breathe either.
No, he doesn't. Like he's just coming up with these one-liners like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like this guy was like actually a comedic genius.
Oh
Like he
yeah.
was legit. He was probably like the Larry David of his time,
Yeah.
honestly. And yeah, he just like I don't know. There's so much like I want to say.
It's an
There's
overwhelming sort of movie to watch actually because it's
it
like,
really. I hadn't seen it since high school,
yeah, okay.
and, and when and then when we agreed to do it, I was like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to rewatch Duck Soup, and I was watching it. I was just like, holy fucking shit!
It's like
How are we gonna
impossible.
talk about this?
Yeah, it's like impossible to like sort of just take notes for. But it's like
But
even like to anyone unfamiliar, it's sort of like Groucho Marx plays Firefly as AJ mentioned, who's sort of like been set up for some reason. They've got this baffling idiot to like he's like they're putting him into politics to like run a country.
yeah,
Like in the grand scheme of things, the plot really doesn't matter because it's just like a thin sort of veil to put the gags on. But what really worked for me is because it gets into sort of like political intrigue and sort of assassins and sort of jealousy. So at one point, sort of the quote unquote bad guy of the movie hires like two spies or assassins, which are played by the two spies are played by like the other Marx brothers to sort of
yeah.
get intrigue on Groucho Marx on the character of Firefly, and they are fucking these two are unbelievable.
My favorite is I don't remember their names other than Groucho, but like the one who's silent,
Yeah.
who just completely does physical humor. One of my favorite gags in the whole movie is when he has a cigar and and he's just like he pulls it out and he's like, "You got a light?" It's like, "Yeah," and he just takes out a fucking
A
blowtorch
blowtorch to
light up
light it.
the cigar.
I love the bit where they're at the office and the one that can't talk is like I think his name's Pinky or something. Um they're like he's like, oh, you've got like a memo here, like like a fax thing, like with the paper, and the silent one goes up to read it, and he looks at it and reads it, and gets really angry and scrunches up and throws it at the floor, and like it sets it up to think he's like read something really offensive, and he's like, no, he just can't read, so he
Oh,
just got
yeah.
frustrated to like throw it on the floor, and the whole movie is just filled with like sort of set up and punchline gags like that. It's brilliant.
And then later on he gets like a phone call, and this is like the only time he's like able to make sound, and he
Right.
just like this little horn.
Yeah. It's
It's like the
fantastic.
most cartoonish thing ever. Like that's so like 1930s
Yeah.
humor, but it works. It
Yeah.
just works so well.
Yeah, he's just making like stupid like smiling faces at the camera while he blows this horn. Yeah, it's so funny. And sort of their running gag with like sort of the street vendor who's like trying to sell his lemonade and they're constantly trying to like sabotage each other's stalls.
Oh yeah. And wait, are we talking about the scene where like they steal the guy's hat and just keep
Yeah.
switching? Yeah, I love that so much.
It goes on
And
for like a couple minutes too, and you're like, this is like incredible. Even though it's like sort of externally, like you're like, oh, okay, this is just like silly, but it's like so impressive.
no, it's sorry, dry throat. It's genuinely like extremely creative.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
don't know, like how I don't know how you come up with like some of the shit that happens in this movie. Like honestly, and they like I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember more stuff that happens in this movie, but it's just like so many of the one-liners
yeah,
are are so just unbelievably just like creative, and how the fuck did you come up with that like just on the spot? Like I don't mean to sound conceited here,
mm,
but I think I'm a like people have said I'm a pretty funny guy.
hmm You definitely are.
I'll never be this funny. So I probably just like never tell a joke ever again. Like, and another one of my favorite moments is I think near the end where um the spies they break into Firefly's house as he's sleeping, and they try to like disguise
Right.
himself as Firefly,
Yeah.
and he notices this, crashes into a mirror, but real Firefly doesn't know it, and
Right.
so he goes up to that mirror, and for some reason they managed to some fucking how
Yeah.
like choreograph their movements to match perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they get their timing perfectly in that moment. And it's so like mind blowing
Yeah,
like how
I
that
think
was
that might
done.
be
Like
the most impressive joke in the movie. That's definitely the one that people remember the most from this movie. It looks like from what I've read online.
yeah, exactly. And I don't like it that even that goes on for a while. But in
Oh yeah, it's like a whole 5 minute sequence. It's crazy.
yeah, exactly. And there's there's really like nothing out there like it. Like this movie just kind of like puts modern day comedies to shame. Like
100%.
I'm a big comedy guy. My second favorite movie of all time is Hot Rod.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Of
Like
course.
take my opinions with a grain of salt. But like I recognize that Duck Soup is a funnier movie than Hot Rod. Like it's basically like comedy 101. Like my biggest rule with comedy, since it's like my favorite genre,
Mm,
like take nothing seriously.
of
I don't
course.
think I don't think there's a single moment in Duck Soup that's meant to be taken seriously.
No. Oh God, no, no. And everyone making it knows that they're like our main goal here is to get laughs, and it does nothing but just sort of put every
E-
single ounce of energy into doing that.
Even Groucho himself, when he was asked like um what political what
Yeah.
political message you want people to get out of this, and he goes like, what political message? We just want people to get a laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah, I
I
think
love
I
that
found that
so
quote. Yeah, he said I think the actual quote was, "What significance? We were just four Jews trying to get a laugh," and like
exactly.
that was just their one goal, and then it's like, and it's like safe to say they completely achieved that because it's like it's incredible too because for a movie the ratio between the runtime and how many jokes are packed into this, obviously I think it's like impossible to sort of get a count on how many jokes there are in the movie, but it's like it's a runtime of like just over an hour. I think it's 69 minutes, and the amount of jokes they pack into it is just unbelievable.
No, exactly. Like I don't know how you can come up with movies back then were much shorter than
Yeah,
movies are right now.
right.
But yeah, you make a very good point. But like also like comedy movies, especially back then,
Right.
like comedy movies, like the number one rule was you have to be quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to just like establish your story, and then just make everything else a joke.
Right.
Like
100%.
I don't know. I first thing that comes to mind is just like Buster Keaton movies.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah. This definitely
like
sort of fits into that sort of.
Sherlock Jr. What's the plot? He falls asleep in a movie projector room, and then the jokes just write themselves.
Right.
And
Exactly right. Exactly right.
like the only exception I think is just Charlie Chaplin, who just did whatever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah.
It was movies like I said also were a whole lot shorter, unless you were like Gone with the Wind or something. But
That's true. Like
yeah.
big epic. Yeah. But even like you mentioned stuff like Buster Keaton, like the greats of Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, but it's like kind of crazy to also realize you're like, as you were watching, well, as I was watching sort of Groucho Marx just do his routine on screen, I was like, fuck, this had to be the influence behind someone like Bugs Bunny, where it's just like, just dry
Probably
humor outside their mouth, just constant
he
gags all
has
the
the
time.
voice. He has
Yeah, well,
Bugs.
they sound similar. It had to be the influence.
Yeah, I mean, like, who do we have now? Who do we have now
In
that
terms of like comedy.
in terms of like comedy geniuses, like a
Um,
la Marx Brothers and Bugs Bunny, like
I mean
Larry
that's the
David, like
that
I
that
said
that's a
earlier,
that's actually
Nathan Fielder,
yeah. I mean that's actually a really good point because as not
Forte.
generations, even like decades ago, there's always sort of that heightened, comedy sort of routine of a particular person that'll transition in and out of decades. I mean, like sort of I think of the aeroplane, the Zucker brothers, probably like in the
Oh yeah.
80s, they were doing sort of a similar thing to what the Marx brothers were doing in the 30s. So I mean, it's kind of I'm hard pressed to even think of someone who even compares.
So, well, I mean, like Zucker Brothers and Mel Brooks, like just had
Yeah,
one job, and it was it was just make fun of what's popular right now.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And and I would believe like in 1933, like this being like a very like politically charged movie, even though Groucho said it wasn't.
No,
Like
it is easy to look
I
into it
would
like that though.
suspect I would suspect that this probably pissed off a lot of world leaders like leading into World War II. I think it pissed off like Mussolini because he thought that Groucho was supposed to represent him.
Yeah. Isn't that fun? I did read that where it's like, yeah, like a political figure like looked at this bumbling political figure who like Groucho, the Firefly character, and go, "Oh my God, that's me." I'm like, how insane is that to look at that character and just think, "Fuck, they've ripped me off."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I can just imagine Hitler or Mussolini being like, "I'm funnier." I don't know. I'm
uh,
funnier than this. Watch me.
it's pretty
Oh
crazy to
God.
think too. I think you might be going down the right path there in terms of like people looking at it as sort of like a political comedy because apparently this like made no money when it was released theatrically.
It must have been pretty outrageous for its time.
Yeah, it was definitely in the midst of like the pre-code era, so where people were definitely sort of making cruder jokes about like sex and whatnot, and I guess people might have been that might have been contributing to why it didn't do as well. Because I've embarrassed to say I haven't seen any other Marx Brothers movies, but I definitely got to change that because I've got to get around to watching the rest of the stuff now.
A lot of the famous comedians, aside from Charlie Chaplin at the time, were not very successful.
No,
Like like the Three Stooges, like they were popular, but they barely made any money.
no, yeah, it was
And
definitely an interesting time for comedy. Absolutely.
and, and then like 19 like this being out in 1933, Buster Keaton, while he was still alive, his career was over because
True. Yeah.
because he was with the silent era
Yeah.
only.
Yes.
But I don't know. And I don't know, like the 30s were not a funny time.
No,
It
and
was
that's
not a
I think that's why this definitely probably stands out. Like I'm trying to think, what have you got like a particular besides this one a Marx Brothers movie for anyone listening who maybe are probably going to add a bunch of these to their watch list. Like, have you got one where you're like, you got this is the ultimate Marx Brothers movie?
Night at the Opera.
Night at the Opera. Okay, that's probably the next one I've got
Animal
to check out.
Crackers.
Yeah, I've heard, and there was another one with feathers.
I don't
Can't
know.
think of what it's called. Yeah, but there is a
Ducks.
bunch there.
Ducks have feathers. Duck
Ducks have
soup.
feathers. Yeah.
Um,
Such a funny
but
thing too. On sorry, yeah, no, you go ahead.
can we talk about the ending
Of
and how
course,
fucking batshit it gets?
I know. It just turns into a massive like battlefield.
It turns into like a massive war, and it's like we call it like batshit, but like I don't know, like it's not something as batshit as something like Blazing Saddles
No,
or maybe yeah, the ending of Blazing Saddles. But like
it
again,
almost gets there though.
like putting putting yourself like in that time period about like what was about to happen. Like ending this movie with Firefly basically like this goofy dictator in the middle of a war, just firing
Right.
at random.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane how he didn't get in like huge trouble over that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. It is actually very controversial, especially in the time period. There's no doubt about that. It's really funny too. There is a period too where they're like, because obviously the movie ends in sort of a war setting, and then someone's trying to talk him out of do actually like going through with the war. He's like, I can't. I've already put like down my first month's rent into the battlefield.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God.
So even when they're talking something about as bleak as like a battlefield of like just like shooting aimlessly at people, he's like still like like milking it, like just doing incredible like just punchlines. It's great.
It's such a yeah. Hold on, sorry. I was looking at the trivia section on
That's right.
IMDb. So yeah, it was actually Mussolini who banned the movie
Was it?
because
Okay.
because he thought it was a direct attack on him.
That's incredible.
And, and then when the news when the news of this reached, the Marx Brothers were ecstatic. Like they loved that so much.
I mean, how could you
Uh,
not be? That's so funny.
they they were they were like fearless, man.
Yeah,
Like
I
they
mean,
were like absolutely fucking insane. Like and like to actually just not only call out these kind of people, but just make them look like fucking assholes.
yeah.
Like at that time, like that could have been like that could have been like fucking exile worthy.
Oh, pretty. Yeah. There's no doubt. I mean, like even the fact like just like his physical appearance too, like how Groucho looks, like you get close-ups of his face and that massive, like stupid looking mustache he has just looks so fake, but it just adds to it. Like you can't be like, it's not like a thing where it's like in a movie where you go, oh, that mustache looks like so fake. It's a fine line. It's like a really weird thing how it works with comedy where the faker that mustache looks, the funnier the scene becomes.
It looks like just coal. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
just like
really weird. It's like
coal
a
on his face.
massive, like thick black thing right above his lip.
What do we think of the musical numbers?
I know, yeah, that's the thing that you brought up Blazing Saddles before, and it reminded me a lot of that, where it almost gets that like when they're in that massive courtroom discussing the war that's about to happen, and everyone just starts singing. It's fantastic.
Well, I was thinking more so like when Firefly is introduced and then he starts getting into the song about how like war is good and
Oh
he's
right,
starting
yeah,
like this massive war and
yeah,
it's like this most happy go lucky tune that
yeah,
you can think of.
yeah.
But I can't really remember the lyrics.
Or he's basically talking
Like,
about he's like, you think this country's in trouble? You just wait till I'm in charge.
yeah, exactly. And then he goes like I point my gun at like I point out my weapon and pop goes the weasel or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like
that's right. Yeah,
that's one of the lyrics that just like sticks out to me.
yeah.
And I don't know, why, but like I don't know.
I
I
love
don't know.
to
This
just before.
like,
Yeah, I mean, basically, we can just talk about like maybe our favorite sort of standout gags in the
those
movie.
are like the highlight moments, but like there are definitely a lot more that we're missing
Oh, for sure.
because like we said, like this movie throws so fucking much at you.
Well, you brought it was a very you. I think you texted this to me a couple of hours ago. And as I was watching, I was thinking in my head, that's a very AJ style gag. Like I could see you like really growing to that. Is when I think, the one of the Marx brothers, one of the spies, is showing Groucho Marx all these tattoos, and there's like a dog kennel.
Oh, the dog. Oh, why
And
did I
then
forget
like
about
he's
that?
like he's like showing him all these tattoos around his body. He's like, "Oh, there's a dog kennel on your stomach there. What does that say?" And he gets closer, and an actual dog comes out of the kennel in like a tattoo form and like audibly barks at him. I was like, "That's so funny. That is
I
such an
love that.
AJ joke."
Why did I forget? I literally texted you going
Yeah.
like that dog joke is insane.
Oh, it's
Like,
so funny.
how did they do that?
I don't know.
The
It's
technology that they had back then.
unbelievable. I was thinking that too. I was like, "How the fuck did they do that?"
I I don't know. It's such like a brilliant setup too,
Yeah,
because like that's like the fucking last thing that you would expect.
yeah, exactly, exactly. That would have blown the people's minds back in 33.
Exactly. Oh, oh my God.
So funny.
That might be my favorite joke of the movie.
And
That
that
might be
that
my
joke,
favorite.
yeah, it's definitely up there. That joke ends so fucking funny too, where he's like, he's got all these like sort of obscure tattoos around his body, and then one of the last that Groucho Marx goes, "I bet you don't have a tattoo of my grandfather," and the guy goes to pull down his pants and show him his ass, and he's like,
Oh,
"Oh,
yeah.
that'll do."
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's wonderful.
like we said, like there are definitely a lot of gags that were missing.
Yeah.
I don't know how I forgot about the dog joke,
The dog
but
joke,
like
even
that's
like the
like
running joke about like the sidecar on how he keeps getting left behind in the sidecar, and then the ending of that joke is the sidecar gets taken off without the motorbike.
yeah, exactly. It's so good.
It's so
Oh,
fucking funny.
there, there's like no, there's just like so many running gags within that
Yeah.
movie, and they all just work.
Oh yeah.
Like none of them fall flat. Like this is one of the rare comedy movies where it just doesn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
Like
Even like the running. Yeah.
every single joke just hits absolute bullseyes.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty easy too for like something with like a running joke for you to go, that's probably dragged on a bit too long. They could have left that out, but like that never just happens because it as you said, it fits so perfectly in it, and it just works so well.
And and of course with that short running time, as you said, I have no idea how the fuck they made it all work. Like this is a miracle of a movie,
Yeah,
honestly.
it's
It-
unbelievable.
It's
Um,
such a fucking miracle.
yeah, but probably pivoting towards final thoughts on Duck Soup. So just basically, AJ, any sort of like final thoughts you had on Duck Soup? Any sort of lines of dialogue that we may have well we've definitely missed out because as we've touched on, that's impossible to
I'm
wrangle all of them. But just any sort of scenes that we may have left out that you just want to quickly touch on before we that we move on.
at quotes right now. And,
I mean, there'd be pages long. This movie is all dialogue. It could
okay,
honestly just be like a stand-up routine.
okay. Firefly is talking to the woman. Not that I care, but where's your husband? Why, he's dead. I bet he's just using it as I bet he's just using it.
That's an excuse.
Married, I can see you right now in the kitchen, bending over a hot stove, but I can't see the stove.
I like the part where Groucho's locked in the bathroom. He's like, "Hey, let me out of here or throw me in a magazine."
True. Exactly. I remember that. Oh my God. Yeah, like drifting towards final thoughts.
Yeah.
Hi highlights include the mirror scene, the hat scene, the blowtorch joke. I already said the dog joke. And the
I'm
ending.
just remembering stuff as a talking now. It's like it
What?
almost impossible to review. I love when as I'm wrapping up too. I'll just quickly like the scene where the two spies go in to talk to the sort of the bad guy there, and he's like, did you get me Firefly's record? And then the guy actually pulls out like a vinyl record of music, and then the bad guy like throws it up out of like frustration, and then he just pulls out a gun and shoots it like it was like a flying like so dumb. It's so funny.
Didn't they also like shoot? No, they didn't shoot the hat. I think I'm thinking
No.
of Free.
But there's like that whole bit
Um,
where he's like talking about he's like, did you follow Firefly and get me any information on him? And he's like telling this elongated story and just ends up saying like, oh, we may have followed the wrong guy. And it's like a whole 2 minute joke dedicated to like these guys fucking up and following the wrong person. It's so funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah, I think this is one of the greatest comedies ever made, and watching it again, I think it might crack my uh top 10 movies
wow,
ever. This is
it's
like
pretty unbelievable.
this is very much an AJ Ford movie.
Yeah,
Like like to the max an AJ Ford movie. I need to watch it way more times in order to catch everything. But I feel like even if I watch it 100 times, I'm still not gonna catch everything.
definitely. I think it is
Like
definitely going to be on those.
I think I think this is one of those movies where the whole entire thing is a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is my kind of comedy, like comedy 101, take nothing seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I was sorry, I'm remembering another line. He goes like, Firefly just goes like, "You're fighting for this woman's honor, which is probably more than she ever did." Such a 1930s joke.
I know. And even the bit too where he's talking about saying when he's like, I was gonna, yeah, you're lucky I'm asking for a lock of your hair. I was gonna ask for the whole wig.
Yeah, exactly.
All that sort of shit. So funny.
I don't know how they improv all that. Anyway,
No,
yeah. What are your final thoughts?
wonderful. No, I mean, I think you've summed it up beautifully. I don't have too much to add. I think, we've touched on. I think you could watch this maybe 50 times over, and there's still going to be jokes where you're just going to simply miss, and it's definitely one of those. I think it is just. I think the word for it is impressive, because you're like, this is just the dedication to just getting a gag per second out, sort of just complete victory lap of beat per beat comedy is actually quite incredible. So no, I'm
Sorry, and the story is still somehow cohesive throughout.
yeah. I mean, they definitely keep a narrative going, which is impressive too. There's no doubt about that. But it's also, I feel like this is going to be a good gateway because I've got it. While I've heard of the Marx Brothers like naturally before, I think I've got to actually get around to checking out most, if not all their stuff now. So yeah, no, very very good recommendation, AJ. I appreciate it.
I'm so happy that I introduced you to Peak.
But that's
then-
going to do it with us from Duck Soup from 1933. We'll be right back. We're talking The Wrong Trousers.
Get up and get ready for an incredible Academy Award-winning adventure. It's a hilarious comedy that your whole family is going to love. Meet Wallace and Gromit, two friends who are about to confront an evil penguin. A unique pair of pants. Face adventure. Thrills. And most of all, laughs. And the critics love it. A small masterpiece. A brand new classic. A unique brand of filmmaking. Brilliantly funny. You and your family will want to watch The Wrong Trousers again and again.
Help me! It's the wrong trousers, Gromit.
All right, we are back and we are talking The Wrong Trousers, the 1993 British stop-motion animated short film with a cast that only involves one person, that is Mr. Peter Sallis, of course, and is directed by the legendary Nick Park. And obviously, anyone unfamiliar, The Wrong Trousers is obviously the second, I guess you could say, second installment in sort of the Wallace and Gromit series. I think the reason probably why we're covering this one, even though it's probably not my personal favorite, I think it is I think everyone considers this the best one, the majority rise. Would that be fair to say?
I would agree, honestly. So I grew up in a very British household.
Okay.
My grandma is British. My dad was born in Bristol, England.
Yep.
So I was exposed to Wallace and Gromit a lot when I was a kid because Aardman Studios is located in Bristol.
Yes.
Yes. And so I know Wallace and Gromit pretty well. And I got the idea to do this one because I had just seen Vengeance Most Foul in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to do a rewatch because I hadn't seen them in so long of the Wallace and Gromit, like the 3 short films.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I remember The Wrong Trousers, in particular, being absolutely fucking bonkers.
Yes.
Like the most bonkers out of all of them. Would you say your favorite is The Were-Rabbit?
My favorite is A Grand Day Out.
Oh, okay.
That's always
The first
been
one.
like I only just literally in preparation for this. So I've been in the midst for this episode now, as we're reviewing The Wrong Trousers. I've been in the midst of rewatching all the Wallace and Gromit ones, and I only just rewatched for the first time since I think I was about 6 or 7 A Grand Day Out, and I forgot on how wonderful that movie was, because I would have wore my grandparents' VHS copy of that dangerously thin. I don't think I saw The Wrong Trousers until I was a little bit older, but nevertheless was still unbelievably impressed by this piece of animation. And I think from reading online, sort of everyone behind the scenes working on this has come forward and said this is their proudest work, and that's completely fair to say as you watch it.
It should be, honestly. Like, you were just
It's
talking about like Duck Soup and how that was basically like a comedic machine gun. I would say Ron Trousers is pretty much in the same vein,
yeah,
but more like with a different kind of humor. Like this
yes,
movie, well, this short film is insanely dry with its
yeah, yeah,
like this movie is quite literally about like Wallace, who's like this inventor, and his silent dog who just like understands what he said, everything that he does and says,
yeah.
and literally just goes along with his inventions. Wallace like just rents this room out to a penguin who wants to like commit this diamond heist.
Yes,
And
he's like a robber.
The way he does it is he tricks Wallace into going into these robotic pants.
Right.
He just somehow doesn't notice until the very last second that he is being used for a diamond heist.
Right. Yeah.
But it's all played so straight. Like that entire premise, like as ridiculous as that sounds, it's all played so straight as if it's just like a regular day like, in Bristol, England. And
very similar vein to how all of the Wallace and Gromit sort of adventures go, where it's just sort of very mundane, and then sort of the wackiness ensues from sort of, it starts like as AJ mentioned, just like renting a room out, something very mundane, something every day to day, and it's sort of that's what sort of kickstarts him like renting the room out to like this supervillain penguin. And obviously inducts this diamond heist by using, hence the name, The Wrong Trousers, that a pair of pants that Wallace uses, which gets one of my favorite lines from the movie, where he's like, they're techno trousers, they're ex-NASA, and they're perfect for walkies. So great. But like, yeah, as you said, it's like a different style of comedy than Duck Soup, but just as funny. It's obviously like 99% just image-based comedy, because obviously Wallace is the only character who can talk in it, and it's definitely taking strong influence from like silent era movie making, like stuff like we mentioned in Duck Soup, like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin.
I would say that, and also like it's very clearly a parody of like Hitchcock.
Yes,
like it's
yes,
Hitchcocky.
definitely.
And but you mentioned like some of the silent humor, like within that like reactionary humor. Like I feel like Gromit doesn't get enough credit for like the amount of like great facial reactions that he
Yeah,
has. Like
yeah.
when the robotic trousers is revealed and it's just like making this robotic noise, and the music is just going like dun.
All right.
And then Gromit's just like
he's like backed up against the wall, like just completely petrified. It's even a really funny like sort of gag at the start, where it's like, as silly as the name The Wrong Trousers, as you mentioned like moments before, they play completely straight with like sort of the dun dun dun, like the logo reveal, and it's like it just says The Wrong Trousers, so that's just like naturally funny.
It's quite, and it's also just followed like the most whimsical theme song.
Oh
Like,
yeah, it's
ever.
wonderful.
Like ba 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 ba, and then it's just
Yeah.
like dun 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 dun. Like even the fucking music is a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it so much. And I also love how Wallace, like his character, is he's a sweet old British man.
Yeah,
He's a sweet, naive old British man who happens to be smart enough to be an inventor,
right.
but he's he's also just kind of a dipshit.
Yeah, he's blissfully unaware of sort of any sort of negative aspects that might be going on around in his life.
Yeah. Like he has this like invention that gets him out of bed.
Oh, so funny. The payoff to that joke is so fucking funny.
Like the bed the bed just like falls down, and then every time it happens he's just like screaming in the most old man way ever. It's like, ow.
It like hurts him. Like perfectly
and
sits
then,
him.
like,
Yeah.
and then he like gets ready for breakfast. Like the toast pops up.
Yeah.
The jam like
Oh,
splatters on the toast.
it's so sort of like kinetic that imagery and how that works, and like the jam slapping into the bread. But I love that. It made me like, it's probably the hardest laugh I got on this rewatch is when it happens to Gromit, but there's no bread in the toaster, and the jam just like
Oh yeah.
just throws right into his face.
Exactly. Poor Gromit,
I
honestly.
know.
Poor Gromit, he gets the short end of the stick all the time.
He just puts up
And
with it.
there's these Twitter jokes now where it's just like the Gromit subplot, and it's just
All
like
right.
just like a fucking alleyway scene in Old Boy.
Yeah, it's like the most elaborate sort of dark stuff.
And it's because like Gromit um in the most hilarious way is the smartest one in the room. Like he always knows when something is awry,
Yeah.
but he legit can't like say it to Wallace.
Yes.
And I love when I love Feathers McGraw. I love him.
One of the
He's
90s
so
90s great
fucking funny.
villains. Yeah.
He well like no, he puts like any 90s villain to shame.
Right.
Okay? Like T-1000? No. Fucking
Hans
Feathers
Gruber.
McGraw. Hans Gruber? No. Feathers McGraw. He's so much better. He is so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Yet you watch him,
He's
you
menacing.
fucking hate him because he's a little shit.
Yeah, he's so menacing.
He's such like you see right through his lies,
Yeah.
but it's always so funny. Like I love the little jokes that he has that are like so mundane. Like he'll be like going to his bedroom, like his side of the bedroom, and for whatever reason, his side of the bed is just like filled with, like baseball stuff. Was it like
Was it? I didn't notice that.
I think it might have been, but like he like turns on the radio and it sounds like stadium. He's listening to stadium music, and he's just
Interesting.
trying so hard. He's just trying so hard to just blend in, even though Gromit's like right on his case.
That's such a funny little character detail I didn't even pick up on. He's just like
Oh yeah,
into baseball stuff. That's so funny.
Wallace is the original SpongeBob in terms of
Yeah, real.
naivety. Yeah, like Gromit tries to tell him that Feathers McGraw is up to no good, and Wallace is like, "Hey, no, chap, he's Feathers McGraw is a very kind soul," or something like that.
Yeah, it even sort of sets up really well on how sort of naive that Wallace can be, where Feathers McGraw first moves in and they sort of Wallace shows him his room, and it's quite where Feathers is going to be staying, but it's like quite run down and not as nice, and Feathers just like makes home in Gromit's room, and Wallace is like, oh, it's not really, but okay, I guess you can, I guess you can stay here.
Exactly. Exactly. It is like Wallace might sound like a sweet old man, but he's a fucking little shit. But like what makes him so funny is just like how sweet he continues to be.
Yeah.
Like even in those like dire situations, like the train sequence.
Right.
Like one of my favorite gags, one of my favorite jokes in the entire thing is like during the train sequence, and Wallace is like on like a toy car, just like he can't stop. Like it's going uncontrollably fast.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, oh, sorry, pardon me," and then like Feathers is on the fucking train and he has a gun,
Right.
and then Wallace grabs the gun as he's moving during this really intense sequence, going like, "I'll take that."
Right. Yes.
It's just like so nonchalantly.
Yeah, it's like just so hot. Yeah, even like in an intense action sequence like that involves an actual gun, like Wallace is still just very sort of sweet and homely during it. As he still has like sort of the same like mannerisms that he would like just sitting down like in the morning eating his breakfast. It's really really funny.
And even when like he gets into the wrong trousers, like and he's supposed to act scared, it's like, oh, it's the wrong trousers, Gromit.
Right.
They've gone wrong. Stop them, Gromit. Stop them. It's so
It's so good. It's fantastic stuff. And like even it's good to point out too that this Feathers McGraw character is so ingrained in sort of pop culture now because like as AJ mentioned before, he's recently just seen the new one and I believe they bring him back as the villain.
They do, yeah. It's not as funny as this one,
No.
but it's still pretty iconic.
Yeah. I mean, like, this in terms of like every like comedy quality and even technical quality, because it's beyond me. Because this is obviously stop motion. It's beyond me how they even accomplished that train sequence where Gromit is like building the tracks as the train is going.
It's nuts.
It's unbelievable. I don't know how they did that.
I can't even begin to fucking fathom how long that must have
Oh,
taken.
it would have been so. Oh, it would have been the
And-
biggest. Yeah. It
And
shocked me.
how they managed to make it like go as fast as it does, because it genuinely looks like
Yeah.
super fast. But they're riding on toys.
Yeah. It's
That's the thing.
crazy.
That's what makes it kind of funny. They're like riding on toys, but it's like they're like in an actual race car.
Yeah, and they're like ducking and weaving in between like their furniture. Like they go into like the dining table. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And then they finally get him. They finally get Mr. Feathers McGraw, and I just love the I love the image of a cute little penguin in handcuffs. Exactly.
Even the animation of him like squeezing into the empty milk bottle is like really funny.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And obviously like
I love
the sort of a almost like a Marx Brothers level gag where they're like you think they're taking him to prison at the end, but it like pulls out to reveal the zoo, which is really funny. They got a good laugh out of me where they just put him back in the zoo.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty. Sorry, yawning. That's pretty typical Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah.
Like, that's a very typical Wallace and Gromit gag, or even like a typical British gag. Like I remember at the end of the first Paddington movie, um, Nicole Kidman, who's the villain in the movie, like doesn't go to jail. She just like gets a job to clean like manure or something.
Oh, really? That's funny. That is very
Yeah.
Wallace and Gromit-esque, yeah.
Exactly.
Just like instead of going to jail, you just do like public service work.
Exactly. Any more highlights?
I
for you?
mean, yeah, it's like it is pretty impressive. Like, even though I wouldn't consider this one my favorite Wallace and Gromit, I think there is some pretty phenomenal, like, sort of, even to circle back to what we were talking about before, like some Marx Brothers level humor. Like, I love that bit too, where it turns out that like Gromit just can't tolerate Feathers McGraw living there anymore, so he like moves out of desperation, and he's at a restaurant reading the paper, and sees Feather McGraw pass. But like even like little hidden gags like that, like as he's reading the paper, the front headline on the front page is like dog reading paper, so it's like really funny stuff like that, like just like really
Oh yeah, I love
like,
that.
sort of like, yeah, Marx Brothers stuff where it's like a gag per minute thing where they're constantly trying to squeeze a joke in.
And I don't know why. I don't know why Wallace says this, but like one line that lives like rent free in my head is "Happy birthday, Chuck." Why is it called Chuck? I don't know. And then he like gives him like a birthday card, and it's like the most loud and obnoxious birthday song just ever.
Gets him the dog collar and lead, and I like how that's like a running thing too, where like Gromit just doesn't like the fact, like just doesn't even acknowledge the fact that he's a dog because he's just like so used to like sitting at a table and just doing day-to-day sort of human things.
I think he doesn't acknowledge that he's a dog because he's so used to being the smartest person in the
Right,
room.
he's smarter than his owner. Yeah,
Like he knows how to get himself out of these situations.
yeah, yeah,
Honestly, like such great character development for like such a silent character. Both of them really.
yeah, and in the span of 30 minutes too, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
So
sorry, go
what?
ahead.
No, no, you first. I lost it.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's I'm interested to go back and rewatch stuff like because I'm pretty sure because obviously the earliest stuff like A Grand Day Out obviously and this one The Wrong Trousers are all pretty short 30 minutes or less, but like stuff like The Were Rabbit, which I think has like a 90-minute runtime, I'll be interested to go back and check because to see that sort of this exact same comedy but stretched out to an actual sort of feature length runtime would be pretty interesting to have a look back and see how it does it.
Maybe another no intermissions episode.
Maybe.
Do it. We'll do it, and we'll combine it with I don't know, John Wick Chapter 4.
That'd be perfect. um,
Is there anything you wanted to add? Because
no,
I
well, I was
pretty
just gonna say, like, I mean, we've pretty much covered. It is a very sort of
it's a very
obviously, it's
short.
definitely the shortest thing we've covered on No Intermission. So probably, yeah, just like continuing on the discussion a bit with final thoughts on The Wrong Trousers. I'll start with you, AJ. So, did you have any sort of maybe like lines of dialogue or scenes that you really like, or um, like even just like sort of Wallace and Gromit moments in general out of the entire filmography that you really like?
In the entire series.
Yeah.
I told you what scared me as a kid.
All right.
Uh, I guess I'll tell our audience. It was in A Grand Day Out where Wallace is working on the blueprints on how to make a rocket ship, and then like he keeps messing it up, and then like the fucking scream that he lets out scared the fuck out of me as a kid because like that was something like completely inhuman. So that's a highlight for me. Um, in terms of this movie, the train sequence is definitely a highlight. Like we said, like we have no idea how the fuck that was done, and they should all be like so proud of themselves for that.
Yeah.
Um, I think the heist scene is genuinely really funny, mainly because Wallace is just so oblivious and just how deep of a sleeper is this guy?
Yes. Yeah, that's really fun. I think it looks really well. It's a really like good looking movie too. There's like that whole bit where Gromit's following Feathers to see what he's up to. There's like a really great shot where like shadows like cast across his eyes and it looks really good.
Were Rabbit is one of my favorite movies, just genuinely because like we said about Duck Soup, it's like a joke per minute, and almost every single joke just hits bullseyes.
Yeah, of
It
course.
like there's one sequence in that movie that kills me every single fucking time. It's like Gromit and another dog just having this like plane fight sequence, and then like the plane just stops,
Right.
right? And apparently you need to like add in more quarters to
Yes, that's right.
like in order to continue.
That's right. I
And
do
then
remember that.
like Gromit is short on change. And so this big like tough dog that he's fighting pulls out a change purse that he just has.
Yeah, that's right.
And then just like and then like the fight continues.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty great.
Oh, it's so good. I gotta rewatch Vengeance Most Foul, but I do think The Wrong Trousers is the biggest highlight.
Yeah.
I think it is the greatest animated short film of all time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's pretty phenomenal.
I think that we're probably never gonna get anything like this. It is possibly the funniest animated short film of all time. I don't know. I haven't seen all of them. Like fucking don't at me. And yeah, it's something just like so unbelievably like wonderful yet
Mhm.
so nonchalant and
And just silly.
dry
Yeah, absolutely.
and just unbelievably just silly. Like this is like you ask me what I think of when I think British humor, I think of this.
Right, yeah, that's
Like
fair.
some people will probably think like Edgar Wright's Cornetto trilogy, but like no. Like
This is it for you.
I grew up in a British household.
Mhm.
I I grew up watching the Wallace and Gromit shorts.
Right.
Like this is British humor. This is
Mhm.
about as British as you can get, and it is phenomenal. All right. How about you, Sir Jackson?
No, I mean it's pretty it is up there. I mean like as a technical craft alone, Nick Park, the director, is just unbelievable. He's like, and he's A game here. And like, as we talked about, that train sequence, like, there's so many sort of intricate moving parts to that where you've got the three characters on the train, but like, they're all trying to sort of get to each other. You're all maneuvering between different pieces of furniture, and obviously that whole sequence where like Gromit is laying down the tracks as the train is moving is just crazy. It's like one of the craziest pieces of animation you could wish to see. It's
It
really
really is.
unbelievable. I will have to obviously check out the newest one because I from what I've seen online, they're like referencing stuff like Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear, and I mean
Right.
it looks pretty good. So I will have to check that out. But yeah, no, I think there isn't too much more to say because I think we've covered it all pretty well. But yeah, the wrong trousers is just out of anything, it is completely impressive. Um, but here comes the fun time where we've talked about Duck Soup from 1933, and we paired it with the wrong trousers from 1993. Now, AJ, uh,
Yes.
how would we pair these two movies together? What would be sort of the connecting theme between the two, you reckon?
They're both goofy as shit.
Yes, that's
They're
fair.
they're both they're both goofy as shit and don't take themselves seriously.
That's fair. The main thing I think these are both sort of older school. Obviously, one's way more older, but pretty much old school. Uh, Completely reliant on sort of the gag per minute, or in some cases, gag per second. And just probably like out of anything, just really impresses pieces of comedy.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I would agree. We probably we probably paired two very easy movies together.
You did well. You did well.
We did well. I introduced you to two pieces of peak.
Absolutely. No, but
Two peaks of peace. I don't know.
but this is the time in the episode here where I give my guests anything they want to plug. So AJ, do you want to plug anything before we head
Okay.
off?
So in the United States, TikTok is getting banned. So
Oh,
by
of
the time
course,
this
yeah.
comes up, it's probably already banned unless it gets saved, which I think it will.
Mhm.
So if it does, my TikTok handle is AJ Applejuice. Instagram Ice AJ Fish. I'm probably gonna focus a lot of my time on YouTube now,
Mhm.
which is just my name, AJ Ford.
Mhm.
Please subscribe to me on YouTube. If you like music and movie content. Um, Letterboxd, A Ford, Twitter, A Ford 7787. I'm very chronically online, so please feed my ego.
It's a fantastic
This
channel.
man
Everyone
feeds
should
my
go.
ego all the time.
Yes,
And
everyone should go.
I'm getting fucking tired of him. So somebody else feed my ego.
Everyone needs to go check out the channel. But no, AJ, I want to thank you so much, man, for coming on and doing this double feature with me. It's been an absolute blast.
I want to thank you for being a fucking king.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. But no, that's gonna do it from us, and I will see y'all in the next one.